जी बेटे, I hope you can see the screen. All right. So we are going to start the second learning objective, which is as shown on the screen. This is the second learning objective which we are going to do. So learning outcome today in today's class is that you will be able to differentiate between rational and irrational numbers. So after today's class, if there is a number written in front of you, so you can, you should be able to tell that if that number is a rational number or irrational number. Okay? So we will start with the discussion. I will demonstrate, I will give you concept of this learning objective, okay, how we can identify or how we can differentiate between rational and irrational number. So I want your attention because without understanding this, the difference, you cannot solve the worksheets. So when we will start solving the worksheets, so then, it's difficult to go back. We will discuss the reason with every question, but your concept should be clear before that. So I want you to be more attentive in the class. Okay. So if anything you cannot understand at any point, you need to tell me. Assalamu alaikum, Jazim. So prepare the notebooks. Topic today is rational and irrational numbers. So it's written in front of you. Please prepare the notebooks quickly. Topic is rational and irrational numbers.
Submit a register for it.
Sorry, bete.
Ma'am,
Can
can I
you?
use register for
Yes,
it?
yes, you can. Yes, you can use. No problem with that. Anything. So topic today is rational and irrational numbers. So we will go through real number system and we'll see different groups and we'll define which group comes in rational numbers, which comes in irrational. Right? So we are going to start with natural numbers. So what are natural numbers? Please raise your hand for the answer. Ji Ashman, what are natural numbers?
Natural numbers are all the numbers without except zero and the positive numbers.
Except zero and without the sign. So it's basically counting, 1, 2, 3, and so on. They are natural numbers. You can say positive numbers. Okay, positive numbers are natural numbers, positive whole numbers. Okay, no fractions or decimals included. So they are called natural numbers. So you need to remember that natural numbers are all of them. They are all rational. Okay, you need to remember this. Okay, all the natural numbers are rational numbers. Okay, today we are going to discuss them one by one. All types of numbers we will discuss. Okay, all the natural numbers are rational. So then comes whole numbers. So what are whole numbers? Anyone else? What are whole numbers? Ji Tathir?
Whole numbers are numbers that start from 0 and go till infinity.
Excellent. So there is an extra zero included. So we said natural numbers are rational. So when we are talking about whole numbers, so actually we are talking about this zero. Okay, is zero a rational number or not? So for your information, zero is also a rational number. Okay. So then after whole numbers, there are integers. What are integers? जी
Ma'am,
Manal,
all
जी Manal.
all the kind of numbers.
And teachers have zero
जी
positive numbers and negative numbers.
negative and positive numbers along with
Zero.
0. Okay. Negative and positive numbers along with 0. They are called integers. So integers are also rational numbers. Integers are also rational in nature. They are rational numbers. So next group is like next type is decimals. So decimals, and I'm in the bracket, I'm writing fractions because decimals and fractions are interchangeable, right? So that's why decimals or fractions, because they are interchangeable. So you can make notes on your notebook, and you can, for your own record, you can write it down on the notebook as well. Okay, because this is how you would be able to differentiate between rational and irrational numbers. Tawassal, is there any question, bete? Is there any question? Okay. So decimals we have
Sir,
learned in the previous 2 days. So decimals are of 3 types. First is, first decimal is,
terminating,
what is the first type of decimal? Terminating decimal. Very good. So first type is terminating. So we will discuss all the 3 types separately. Terminating decimals. Terminating decimals कौन से थे? Where the division ends. ठीक है? So terminating decimals are rational numbers. ठीक है? You can list on your notebook as well. Terminating decimals are rational numbers. So now the second type of decimal. Hafsa, I can see your answers also. Very good, bete. Second type is, yes, non-terminating. But what is the specific type? Non-terminating and recurring decimals. Okay, first type was terminating. So terminating decimals are rational numbers. Second type is recurring decimals. So what kind of decimal is recurring decimal? The recurring decimal is also a rational number. Okay. A recurring decimal is
ma'am,
also a rational number.
ma'am,
जी बेटे.
ma'am, it is the decimal which ends.
Which one? Terminating decimal is the decimal which ends. Recurring decimal is the decimal where there is a repetition. Okay, the same pattern is repeating itself. So third type of decimal is non-recurring. So what is non-recurring decimal?
Irrational.
Ma'am, it is not.
That's
It is
right.
irrational.
It is irrational, and they are the ones where the deviant does not end and there is no pattern in the repetition. Okay? There is no repetition. So they are irrational numbers. You need to remember that. So अभी तक हमने जितने भी numbers पढ़े, जितनी भी types पढ़ी हैं, the only irrational numbers are non-recurring decimals. All right? So now moving forward to the next group. So we have talked about different numbers. Then we talked about different types of decimals and fractions, of course. So now comes the roots. Now comes the roots. So you know that roots are basically fractional powers. So we can write down exponents as well. Roots are powers actually. So we are going to write exponents. या exponential powers. ठीक है? So roots. So आपने ये बात याद रखनी है. There is one point you need to remember that I'm writing in the statement for your you can say reference. So all solvable roots. All solvable roots. By this word solvable, I mean that the roots which give you whole number is as an answer. So solvable root से मेरा मतलब है which gives you whole number in answer. So all the solvable roots are rational. Right? So now I will explain what does that mean. So let me explain. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, all solvable roots are rational. So that means okay, if I'm talking about, for example, a square root and there is a 4 inside. So what is the answer of this root? Please raise your hand for the answer. What is square root of 4? Zoya?
2.
It's 2. Okay. If I say what is square root of, let's say 64. Hashim? Quickly, bete, please answer quickly. What is square root of 64?
8.
It is 8. Okay. What is square root of 100? Ji, Hashim.
150.
Ji?
Ma'am, I think so.
Tawassal? What is square root of 100? Sorry?
I'm 20.
I cannot hear your voices.
I'm 10.
It is 10. Okay. So now these were all square roots. Now let's talk about cube roots. What is cube root of 8?
2.
Gee, Arshman.
And 2.
It is 2. What is cube root of 125?
5.
5. What is cube root of 1000?
100. 10, 10, 10. 10.
10. Okay, cube root of 1000 is 10. So now let's talk about fourth root, for example. What is fourth root of 16?
4. 2. 2. 2.
So better mute your mic. Don't tell me wrong answer in the first. So we are so many people sitting here. I don't want everybody to hear your thoughts. Okay, think first, then unmute the mic and answer, please. So it is 2. That's right. Gigi. Who is this? Gee, Hisham, is there any question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So they are all basically roots which are solvable roots. By solvable roots, we mean that which are giving the answer in a whole number. Okay. So these all are basically rational numbers. Square root of 4, cube root of 8, or fourth root of 16. They are all rational numbers. Okay. All solvable roots are rational. So is this thing clear till this point? Any question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So no one is having any question? Because when we will solve the worksheet, then, we will quickly go through it. All right, beta. So now comes the roots which are not solvable, which are giving decimal in the answer. So non-solvable roots. By non-solvable, I mean which cannot answer as a whole number. Non-solvable roots. Like for example, square root of 2, square root of 3, square root of 50, square root of 99. So they are not solvable. Their answer is basically a decimal number. Okay, you can solve them through calculator, but they are not giving you a whole number in the answer. Similarly, cube root of 5, cube root of, let's say, 10, cube root of 7, they are all irrational numbers. Okay, so fourth root of, let's say, 10, fourth root of, let's say, 15. So they are all irrational numbers. Okay, so the non-solvable roots are irrational. Okay, and this is very important that in the roots, agar aap gaur kare, in the first 100 numbers, there are only 10 numbers which are perfect squares. So rest of the 90 numbers are irrational. Okay. Similarly, in the first 1,000 numbers, there are only 10 cube numbers. So what about the other 990 numbers? So they are all irrational. Okay, if you think about cubes, so
Ma'am,
most of
what is
the
irrational number?
sorry,
Ma'am, I don't understand about irrational number.
so irrational number is a type of number, na? So let me explain that to you. Okay? So if you cannot relate it, I will explain that. I will explain the real number system. Okay? So now after this point, you should be very clear that there are two types of numbers which are rational. One are non-terminating, non-recurring decimals, and the other is unsolvable or non-solvable roots. They are irrational in nature. And for your information, square root of 2 was the first irrational number invented by mathematicians, and this was not a recent invention. It was very old invention, and I think so you might have learned in history lesson. So it was invented by I don't know what was the name of the mathematician. Can anyone recall who worked on the irrational numbers? So just give me a minute. Let me quickly search. It is not in my mind, but you might have um, learned about this mathematician in your history class. So who invented irrational numbers? Which mathematician? So it was
Ma'am, can I tell?
Pythagoras. Gigi, you can tell.
Um, Alpha. Alpha.
Sorry?
Hazmi.
Al-Khwarizmi. All right. So basically, Al-Khwarizmi. All right. Al-Khwarizmi, it's written Pythagoras. Pythagoras was the first one who invented. So there were students of Pythagoreans in ancient Greeks. So you have learned. So Greek civilization में the students of Pythagoras was not only a mathematician, actually he was a philosopher. So he did the inventions in many fields of life. So the students of Pythagoras were called Pythagoreans. Okay? At that time, in 5th century, this is 21st century. So at that time, Pythagoreans invented square root of 2 as the first irrational number. Okay. So now Hisham said a very good question. So actually, yes, there was, I can see many different mathematicians names shared in the chat. So yes, there were few mathematicians which were working on this field. So they were working on the concept of irrational numbers. They knew that there are this kind of numbers in mathematics, but the Pythagoreans were the first one who invented square root of 2 as a first irrational number. ठीक है, इससे पहले there was this concept that there are irrational numbers which cannot be represented by a fraction accurately. So, but no mathematician was able to figure out the number itself, right? So Pythagoreans were the first one who invented square root of 2 as first irrational number. So basically, real number system, I hope you can see the screen. Real number system is a system of numbers. ठीक है, mathematicians ने ये एक system बना दिया था and they have added all the numbers in this system. ठीक है, so when you will go in the advanced levels in the next classes, so you will know that real number system के अलावा भी there are other numbers in mathematics. ठीक है, real number system is not like all of the numbers in maths are included in real numbers. So but for now the focus is real number system. ठीक है, so real number system is having two further groups. One is called rational numbers and another is called irrational. ठीक है, so rational numbers की एक bookish definition क्या है कि rational numbers are those numbers which can be written in form of p by q, यानी कि they can be written in form of a fraction. ठीक है, because irrational numbers cannot be written as a fraction. That's why pi actually cannot be written as a fraction, but that is, अगर हम देखा जाए तो according to the definition of irrational numbers, we cannot write pi as 22/7 क्योंकि irrational numbers cannot be written in a fraction form. But for the sake of calculation in school, we need to do that. ठीक है, so irrational numbers cannot be written as p by q. ठीक है, so now the next groups in rational numbers. So there are integers, you know that. So integers sub part is whole numbers, we have just discussed them, whole numbers, and lastly there are natural numbers. Okay, this is the real number system.
Okay.
So now we have already learned, you have learned this real number system in grade 6 as well, in grade 7 as well, but the focus was mainly on the rational numbers. Okay, so there was no focus on irrational number. We have never said, आपने हमेशा देखा होगा कि आपने फर्स्ट टॉपिक हमेशा पढ़ा 6 और 7 में रियल नंबर सिस्टम, उसके बाद आपने क्या किया, आपने सीखा हाउ टू ऐड फ्रैक्शंस, हाउ टू सब्ट्रैक्ट फ्रैक्शंस, व्हाट आर इंटीजर्स, 6 में आपने पढ़ा था व्हाट आर इंटीजर्स, हाउ टू डू डिफरेंट ऑपरेशंस ऑन इंटीजर्स. 7th क्लास में आपने पढ़ा व्हाट आर द फ्रैक्शंस एंड डेसिमल्स or how to perform different operations on fractions and decimals. But now we are focusing on this part of the real number system, which is irrational. And we have just learned that irrational numbers are two types of numbers. What are those two types? First type is non-recurring, non-terminating and non-recurring decimals. Okay? These decimals are irrational. ठीक है, दूसरी टाइप आपने ये पढ़ी नॉन सॉल्वेबल रूट्स, दे आर आल्सो irrational. Are we clear now? We know a lot of rational numbers in maths. ठीक है, अगर कोई हमें ये कहे कि name a rational number, so you would be able to name so many of them. ऐसे ही है ना, but if we ask you or if I ask you what type of numbers are irrational, give me one example or give me two examples. So most of you will be stuck after giving a few examples. So the purpose of today's objective is that you can name few irrational numbers confidently if someone asks you Okay, name few irrational numbers. So after this point, to check your learning, I'm asking you this question. Okay, raise your hand. Can you tell me a few numbers which are irrational? Please raise your hand for the answer. Ji Hisham.
Ma'am, 0.32489.
0.32489 and 3 dots. This is an irrational number. Very good. Because this is non-terminating, non-recurring. Tawassal ji bete.
0.32
Tawassal 0.32.
489 489.
That is already written. All right, excellent. This is an irrational number. So somebody else, Jazim ji bete. Pi, excellent. Pi is irrational. Yes, even writing this notation is enough. So Arshman, what is your answer?
And
Ji
square root of
Arshman, what is your answer? Square root of 15 because it is non-solvable. Excellent. Ji Hashim.
Cube root of 88.
Cube root of 88, non-solvable root. Zoya, ji bete.
Fourth root of 10.
Fourth root of 10, another example of non-solvable root. Excellent. Ji, a few rational numbers. Can you name a few rational numbers? Ji Hisham,
22.
22. So, any other? Ji Ashman,
32 तो नहीं हो सकता.
no, rational numbers I'm asking. 7 point?
Ma'am,
5.
7.5. Sorry, Tawassal, what are you saying, bete?
0.2.
0.2. Excellent. 0.22. Like a recurring decimal. Excellent. So Jazim,
13.5.
all right, your voice 13.5. All right. So G Manal,
3/4.
3/4. Excellent. So a different type, 3/4. So there is no negative number. So can anyone tell me some negative number as well? Arslan is saying -2. Excellent. Hafs is saying -999. Very good. -2, -999. They are all rational numbers. Okay? So I hope this is clear.